Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's episode, I am joined by Holy Family girls hockey player Madison Kaiser. This past season, Madison had 54 points in 37 games, and Madison will also represent Team USA in the U18 World Championships this summer. Madison is committed to play for the Minnesota Gophers for college hockey and should be playing with that team next season. Madison, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How's everything going?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Now, how's everything going for yourself? How's your senior year been going for you, and how's just everything been going for you, both on and off the ice?
Yeah, senior year has been really fun and fast. School definitely has been harder than a senior slide. I have a few tough classes. Um, and then now I'm out of the season, obviously. So I've just been training and doing workouts and stuff like that.
Yeah, and is it nice to kind of have a turn to normal compared to the last 2 years where it's been kind of different with all the protocols?
Yeah, for sure. This year was pretty open for spectators and just like not wearing masks anymore. So yeah, it was definitely good to get back.
And do you think that kind of changed your approach, I guess, this year, knowing that there won't be as many, I guess, challenges you have to face compared to the last two seasons?
Yeah, I think people kind of struggled to like see that there was more issues like behind the scenes too with people getting COVID, um, and then like not really having as much to look forward to because like no one knew when everything could like shut down. But
Now, I kind of want to start off this podcast talking about the beginning of your hockey career and kind of working all the way up to where you are now today, as a senior in high school heading off to college hockey. So you're from Minnesota. Talk about growing up there and how did you start playing hockey?
yeah, so my family has a pretty big past with hockey. So as soon as I started walking, I was skating. When I was younger, there was nothing else that I wanted to be than a hockey player. Um, and then, yeah, I just had really good memories of youth hockey growing up.
Yeah, and did you play any other sports growing up or was it just hockey?
Yeah, I actually played quite a few sports growing up. I did dance for like 7 years, and then soccer, and then like later, um, like middle school going into high school, I played soccer and lacrosse and then hockey. And then instead of doing lacrosse, my junior and senior year, I did tennis.
Nice. Tennis seems like a
Yeah.
fun sport. I've never played it before, but I feel like once you get the hang of it, it must be kind of easy to get down in some ways.
Yeah, for sure. I loved it. Yeah.
Now, do you just play hockey your senior year? Was it kind of just focusing on one sport, or did you try to do some other things? I know some players throughout their high school hockey careers, they try to play one other sport just so they can kind of, I guess, not get, I guess, content with one sport, just because it's good to kind of take a break from hockey and focus on something else for a few months.
Yeah, for sure. It was a little different just transferring. But my last year I played tennis my junior year, and then I ended up getting hurt, so I couldn't play any spring sports.
hmm Now, you were talking about how you grew up in a hockey family and just doing some research on yourself. You have an older brother that currently plays for Minnesota Duluth. So just talk about what it was like growing up in a hockey family and just how was the competitiveness in the household? Did you guys play any games with each other? Just talk about that because it sounds like it must have been fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think me and my brother growing up had like very similar goals in hockey. Like we wanted to make it to the next level, like college wise. But it definitely got competitive a lot of the times. But it was all out of love. So it never was like fighting. It was more like I can shoot more than you or I can skate faster, like things like that. But yeah.
Yeah. And what's it like growing up with a sibling that also plays hockey at a high level that you do as well? That must be fun. And do you guys ever communicate during the seasons and watch each other play and try to help each other out?
Yeah, for sure. I love watching him, and I always give him crap about, like, you should have done this, you should have done that, like, whatever. So we talk a lot. Obviously over the phone at this point because he's not living at home, but yeah, he tries to watch as many games as he can, um, and always gives me like things to work on, or you've gotten way better at this than last time I saw you. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's fun.
And who was your favorite hockey player growing up? Was it someone in the NHL, or was it a female player on the national team, or did you even have a favorite hockey player? Was it like someone in your hometown team?
Yeah, so my grandparents grew up in Warroad, Minnesota, so it's super north, like border of Canada, and it's where Gigi Marvin and TJ Oshie grew up. So like those were my like two people that like I would watch like religiously, and I wanted to be just like Gigi Marvin. So she played on the Olympic team the
Hmm.
last few years.
And that must have been cool to see her win a gold medal back in 2018.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was really, yeah, and I got to like see it and get her autograph, so that was cool.
Oh, that's awesome. How big are those gold medals? They don't seem that big, but I could be wrong. I've never seen one in person.
Yeah, they are bigger than I thought. I thought they were going to be smaller for sure,
Hmm.
but they're big and they're heavy.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, have you ever had the chance to meet TJ Oshie or just Gigi Marvin?
Um I think I met him when I was really young, but I don't remember it.
Hmm.
But my grandma and my grandpa actually taught him in high school, so they've like met him as he's like grown up. But
They have to brag about that. They probably were bragging about it a little bit when you did all those shootout moves back in the day, like in the
oh, for
Olympics.
sure.
Like I would totally brag about that. You have to at that point.
Yep, they did.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, just talk a little bit about your youth hockey career growing up in Minnesota. What were some teams that you played with before Andover, and just what was that experience like for you playing in the state of hockey?
Yeah. So growing up, you kind of just play like youth. So it was like still through Andover. It just wasn't the high school. So it'd be like I started at junior mites, which is like just the like when you're first starting to skate and whatnot. And then it's mites, and then U8s, which is like all the girls. So mites is like boys and girls play together. And then at U8s, it starts like just all girls, and then it's U10s and U12s. So a lot of the people growing up were on my high school team. Um, and a lot of them actually are D1 hockey players now. So the like competitiveness at like all ages was super high, and super fun. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, and how did it help prepare you for high school hockey once you got to Andover playing with those youth teams?
Yeah, I think it actually prepared me pretty well. My 8th grade year I actually played boys instead of playing U15s, which is usually what you do before you go to high school. So it was a little different than the normal path, but I think it definitely set me up to
Mhm.
succeed at high school.
And was the transition tough from boys hockey to girls hockey? Because obviously boys hockey is a little more physical than girls hockey is, especially when you're in eighth grade.
Yeah, yeah, it was physical, but I am a very physical person, and at that point, like I was probably one of the taller and more like strong person on the team. Um, so yeah, but it was similar, I would say, to high school
Hmm.
hockey.
Were you throwing any big hits? Because I don't know if they allowed hitting back in eighth grade, but if they did, you should have taken advantage of that if you did. If you did.
Yeah, not as much, but they let things go for
That's
sure.
good. That's good. And obviously, you started your high school hockey career with Andover. What was, I guess, the biggest adjustment you had to make to high school hockey, transitioning from boys hockey in eighth grade to girls hockey? And how are you going to, I guess, use that adjustment period that you had to do in high school hockey once you get to college this upcoming season?
Yeah, I would say the biggest adjustment for me was just the speed. So my sophomore and junior year, I tried to focus a lot on my quickness and speed, um, and then just keeping a positive mindset, like when things weren't going well and whatnot, because it's obviously a different game um, than it is in youth. But yeah, so I just tried to focus on little goals I had and holding myself accountable for them.
And obviously, you played high school hockey at a very young age, making the varsity team. So, how did you handle that? And I guess what was it like playing with older players when you were a freshman and sophomore on the high school hockey team?
Yeah, so yeah, I started my freshman year on the Andover hockey team, and I just tried not to focus like that I might have been like the young one, right? And I just tried to look up to all the girls and just hear what they had to say about how to improve and how to fit in. Um, but yeah.
Hmm. And just talk a little bit about your high school hockey experience with Andover. What's like the best memory you have with that program?
Yeah, I would say winning state was just like surreal. Like it's just something that I'm like the feeling is just like I can't even explain.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about that feeling. Obviously, when you go play Minnesota high school hockey, that's obviously the dream. So, what's it like, I guess, accomplishing that, and what emotions were you feeling when you accomplished that goal?
Yeah, it's obviously a goal that probably every Minnesota hockey player has. Um like for example, our section final at Holy Family, um like we probably had half of our school at the game. Um and then the tournament, the state tournament, like it's something every Minnesota like family, whether you play hockey or not, looks forward to. Like the state games at the XL, which is where the Wild plays, like it's sold out. Like you can't buy a ticket. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Just because I'm from the East Coast, and just the high school hockey scene and the junior hockey scene is a lot different than it is out in the Midwest, and it's just kind of cool that you guys can sell out an NHL stadium. Where up here in Boston, it's really kind of harder to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I don't know any life like beyond this, but yeah, I forget that not everyone has that.
Now, you then went on to play for Holy Family for your senior year of high school. So, my question is, what made you kind of want to switch schools and go to Holy Family, and how does that process work?
Yeah, so it just Andover wasn't really the right fit for schooling and hockey. It wasn't for me. Um like I wasn't able to reach my goals there. But I loved it. Like I love everyone in Andover. I actually still live there, so I couldn't play my junior year at Holy Family because you have to move to where you're gonna play, and my parents didn't want to do that. And I didn't really want to do that either. But I also had wrist surgery on like my ligaments and tendons, so it's like a year-long surgery, or I'm out for a year. So either way, I couldn't play my junior year, so it just made sense to do it then. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, talk about dealing with that injury. Like, I guess what's the recovery process like, and how was there any tough moments where you felt like it was gonna? Did you feel like it was gonna? Did you feel like the recovery process, I guess, go the way you thought it was gonna go, or were there any bumps in the road that you did not expect?
yeah. So I kind of didn't know if I was gonna get surgery or if I was gonna wait until after college to try to do it. Um, but I ended up needing it because I couldn't barely move my wrist. So I didn't think I was gonna need surgery. I thought that I could just like wear a brace and what it'll be fine. But yeah, that wasn't the case. So the process was like super long, and I had to actually wear a hard cast like up to my like my shoulder, so like I couldn't move my whole arm. But the biggest like thing that was hard was I couldn't straighten my arm after I got the surgery or out of my cast. So like um that arm was super weak, and I actually ended up dislocating my shoulder at USA camp from it. So I think that was just the thing that I didn't realize was going to be so hard, was to strengthen that arm again.
Yeah, and I guess how'd you try to prepare for the upcoming season, dealing with that injury? And was there anything that you tried to do differently to speed up that recovery process, but also make sure you're going to be on the same level as your teammates once you got back on the ice?
Yeah, so I actually trained when I had the wrist surgery, like a week after I got it. Um just because I could do lower body stuff and sprinting and things like that. So I felt like I maintained a pretty like good just like I kept my speed up, I kept my lower body strong. So it was just really focusing on my arms once I got my cast off, and then just like shooting as much as possible to get back in the mindset. But yeah.
And how'd you try to build up the strength in that arm once you got the cast off? Just because it seemed like it's like you said, it was kind of a bump in the road that you didn't expect.
Yeah, well, I couldn't really do so I got on my left wrist. I couldn't do right arm exercise either because you don't want it to like have your strength uneven. Um so yeah, I just had to go. It was a really slow like process because I just had to start with such like low weights that I wasn't used to. But just try not to get frustrated with myself and just like know that it's a process and like it's going to be a while until I can fully do everything. Um, but yeah, it was better than I thought. I really thought the worst, and it was fine.
And when did you kind of fully recover from that injury? Like, when did you feel like you were kind of back to normal after that surgery happened?
I would say probably like the end of last summer. So probably like September, the beginning of September, I felt like I was pretty much back to normal.
Now, obviously, this past season, your team was very successful. Your team almost got 30 wins. So, I guess what was the key to your team's success this year? And I'll talk about what it was like being a new player on a new team for your senior year.
Yeah, it was difficult, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So our team was pretty good. We had like one of the best goalies in the country, which is huge in big games. We also had three strong, pretty dominant lines with a good decor. So everything pretty much fell into place perfect. But yeah, it was a really good year, and the team is just super close. So yeah.
And obviously, your goalie committed to UNH. I saw that must have been fun to see for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, she's really good, and she's only getting better. Yeah, really good person too.
Now, you individually made a lot of improvements from your previous season to this past season, improving from 33 points to 54. So I guess we talked a little bit about it, but what were some of the improvements that you try to make this year? And what do you think was the biggest improvement you made to your game that led to your increase in your points this year?
Yeah, so I knew I needed to put more um into the off season. So I started getting more one-on-one training to focus on like specific things to my game. Um, and then just working out and improving obviously speed and strength. But the biggest improvement I would say is just in front of the net, like finding ways to just get it done, and then trying to put myself in better positions without the puck because I feel like um, that's a really important thing, especially as a forward.
Yeah, I had a coach once tell me if you're in front of the net, you're always going to find a way to score goals, and that's where the money's made. So it's never a bad idea to be in front of the net and get those dirty goals. I think it sometimes helps actually.
Yes, for sure.
Now, being a senior on the team, what type of leadership did you want to bring? Were you more of a vocal leader, lead by example? I know you're a new player on the team, but obviously, being a senior, you do have some leadership role that you want to try to fill.
Yeah, I'm a pretty natural leader, I would say. But it was definitely hard not growing up with the girls at Holy Family. And we had a lot of seniors, so everyone had their own unique role. But I just try to keep practices pretty competitive, and then the locker room fun and like off ice stuff fun. And yeah, I just try to lead by example.
Now, your team made it all the way to the section championship game, but came up short to Minnetonka. So my question is, what did you take away from that game, especially since it happened to be your final high school hockey game that you ever played?
Yeah, yeah, that was heartbreaking. Just because high school hockey in Minnesota is so much fun, and like you get so close with your team. It's like your second family. Like I probably saw my teammates more than I saw my family. Um, but the hardest part was just knowing that I wouldn't play with any of my really close friends there, because they're obviously all going to different places.
Now, talk a little bit more about the Minnesota high school hockey scene and what's it like being a player in that scene. Because I feel like people who aren't from Minnesota, it's kind of hard to understand just how big and popular it is. Because I've seen clips of the state tournament where all student sections are filled up, and it seems like a great atmosphere to be a part of. So, as a player, being a part of it, what's that like?
Yeah, I had an amazing experience with high school hockey. And then I actually was fortunate enough to go to state tournament twice. Um, yeah, girls is a little different than guys. Obviously, guys pretty much sells out every year. Um, but yeah, for girls, I mean, in our championship game, our student section was like I've never seen a bigger student section when I'm playing. So yeah, that was just really cool, and like all of our community was there. All my teachers were like talking about it. So yeah, it was unique and definitely special.
And is it cool to grow up with the teammates that you play? Is it cool to kind of grow up with the same teammates that you played with as kids? Because not many people can do that when they're going through their hockey careers. You kind of have to move away from home and all that stuff. So I feel like that's kind of makes what makes Minnesota hockey unique is that you get to play with someone that you grew up like playing with before. What's it like from your perspective? How cool is that? Especially, like I said, especially since not many states say they can do that.
Yeah, so I'm at Holy Family now, but at Andover, I played with all the girls like since I can remember. So it was just really special to be winning and playing together. Like like it's a family. And then obviously you're seeing them at school, like you're always with them. So that just made for great memories.
Now, what will you take away from your high school hockey experience when you look back on it now?
Yeah, I just would say that you need to have fun because it goes by so fast. And I wish I wouldn't have taken everything so seriously, especially like in my earlier years, like freshman and sophomore, just because I put so much pressure on myself. Um, but yeah, just to have fun because it's supposed to be fun. That's why we play.
Exactly, exactly. Now, getting back, I want to talk a little bit about the World Championships. You got selected to represent Team USA this past October. So my question is, how did you find out you were going to make the team, and what's the process like for making Team USA?
Yeah, I actually had a unique experience with that as well, just because of my surgery. Um, I couldn't try out in the beginning, like just when like your section, so just like my town basically. Um, so I could only try out like at the very end of it, and I didn't even know I would be able to just because it's like I was hurt, so they had to like make a special request, and I didn't know if that was gonna go through or whatnot. So yeah, I didn't even know that I was gonna be able to try out until like very last minute. Um, but I found out I made the team like the end of September. Um, and it just felt so surreal because like I feel like every little kid that plays hockey dreams of that moment, like getting that phone call. Um, and I don't think I'll truly be hit until I'm putting on the USA jersey and playing. But yeah,
Have you had the chance to do you get the jerseys beforehand, or do you have to wait until the tournament starts to put them on?
I think we wait because we got all of our apparel to go to Sweden like before it got canceled.
Hmm.
But it was just a pair. It wasn't the jersey, so I'm guessing they just wait until we're there.
Now, obviously, you haven't played in it yet, but what's that feeling going to be like for yourself to put on that Team USA jersey and represent our country?
Yeah, so obviously it's been a lifelong dream, like since I was a little girl. Um, but yeah, I think putting on that jersey is like everything to me right now. That's been one of my biggest goals growing up. So being able to say I did it will be really cool.
Now, who was the first person you told once you got that phone call? I'm curious.
My family group chat, actually.
Oh, that's awesome. It must have been a lot of notifications after that message was sent.
Yep, definitely.
That's awesome. Now, the tournament was originally canceled, but then it got rescheduled. So my question is, how did you like handle the roller coaster emotions of the scheduling process with this tournament? Just because like to me, it seemed disappointing that you guys weren't going to get the opportunity to play, and then all of a sudden, like they announced that I was going to come back. It must have been weird for you as a player. I'm just going through all those emotions.
Yeah, it was definitely tough to hear, obviously. Just because I was putting in so much work for it to happen. I just thought, like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And the staff was just amazing. Like they told us everything as soon as they could. Super good communication there. And then they were just like, keep working, keep like doing everything, because like you never know. And then fortunately we got the phone call or the email that is back on. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, and I feel like you deserve it the most just because I feel like the '04 birthdays haven't really had the chance to have these type of experiences just because everything's just been canceled. So that's awesome that you have finally get the opportunity to do that.
That's super. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like '04 is definitely had the upper hand in that, but yeah, it's fortunate that it's right now still going on. But
Is it still going to be in Sweden or are they going to move it? Because I heard that's not like set in stone that's going to be there this year.
yeah, we don't really know where it's gonna be yet, but I think it might be in the US.
That's nice. That must be cool to play in that tournament in your home country. Do you hope it's in Minnesota or do you think they're going to move it out like in like Pennsylvania or somewhere that like it's kind of more central location, I guess.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of rumors. I don't know if any of them are true. I've heard maybe Lake Placid, New York.
That would be a cool
Um,
spot.
yeah. So yeah, either way is totally fine with me.
Hmm. Well, I kind of want to also talk to you about your college hockey commitment as well, just because you're committed to play for the Minnesota Gophers for next season. My question to you is, what was your recruitment process like, and I guess what made you want to go to Minnesota versus other schools you might have looked at?
Yeah, so I actually started getting recruited my 8th grade year, which seems like forever ago. It was a little bit different than now. Obviously, there's rules that you can't talk with college coaches until I believe your junior year. But I just toured Minnesota. I was talking to like a handful of schools. But after touring, like it really felt right. And then Minnesota's home, obviously. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm super excited for the next 4 years there.
Yeah, what's the thing you're looking forward to the most about college hockey when you think about it? Is it just the players you're going to play with, or is it the border battle between Wisconsin, or is it the WCHA playoffs and having the chance to potentially go on a national tournament run? Like, what makes you excited when you think about your college hockey future?
Yeah, for sure. Everything you just mentioned, I'm really looking forward to. And then just the competition and challenge at the next level is really exciting. But yeah, the border battles, I have a few friends that actually are on the USA team with me that are going to Wisconsin. So I think it'll be fun kind of knowing some of them and playing against them.
Yeah, and you also get to reunite with your former teammate Peyton Hemp. Have you guys talked about that? That must be fun.
Yeah, me and Peyton are super close. So I've grown up with her, and we train like all the time right now together. So that's going to be really exciting, especially knowing someone so she can show me everything.
Now, what do you think will be the biggest adjustment you have to make to college hockey? Is it going to be like the speed again, like it was in high school, or do you think it's going to be something else?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be the speed, and then just decision making is going to be so much faster just because of the speed. Um, yeah, adjusting to what I'm going to do when I don't have the puck, and then when I do have the puck, getting it to the person open as fast as possible.
So I now want to transition and go to the segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. So my first question to you is, what is the most interesting thing you've seen or read this week?
Yeah. So philosophy class, we're watching a film called I Heart Huckabees, and it's about a guy that questions his life, basically. It's
Hmm.
really interesting.
That class seems super interesting, but I feel like it could be the easiest class ever or super hard.
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's cool. I think the most interesting thing that I saw this week was a study about like sleep and like how important it is. To be honest with you, I didn't really know how important it was until reading about it, just because like if you don't get like enough sleep, it like can affect your like physical health, which I thought was pretty interesting to read about.
Yeah, I'm a big reader on sleep. I actually go to bed at like 8 every night.
Yeah, I need to improve on that. I keep going to bed like at like midnight, 1 a.m. I'm a bit of a night owl, so I need to work on that, but it's tougher adjustment than it sounds.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, today is obviously St. Patrick's Day when we're recording this, and I think it's pretty fitting since your team colors are green. But in your opinion, what is the most overrated holiday and what is the most underrated holiday?
Oh, this is a tough one. Um, Most underrated is July 4th. I love that holiday. And the most overrated is Valentine's Day, I think.
Why do you think it's overrated?
I don't know. I just think every day should be celebrated for love.
I agree. That's a good answer. So I agree with you about the underrated thing with 4th of July. I think that's a fantastic holiday just because it's in the summertime, the vibes are high, you're having good
Yeah.
barbecue. I think it's a great holiday and I love the fireworks as well. And it's not like you don't have the pressure of giving gifts, which is kind of the theme for a lot of holidays. But the most overrated holiday, at least in my opinion, is Halloween, just because if you're not into dressing up or that Halloween thing, it's really just another day, and I just feel like people like try to shove it down your throat when you're not really into it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I like dressing up though. So,
Nice, nice. I'm not a big dress up person, so that's the one thing. But I wish I could still do trick or treating though. That's the one thing I don't like about Halloween is once you get to a certain age, you can't do that anymore, and I wish I could still do that.
true, true.
Now, another underrated, overrated thing is since you are a senior in high school, do you think prom is overrated or underrated?
Overrated for sure.
Hmm. I totally agree with you on that. It seems a bit overrated just because like you pay all this money just for a dance and I don't know, I don't understand the hype around it, but I can't really speak on that just because my prom got canceled last year because of COVID.
Oh, COVID, yeah.
Um I don't know what it's like, so maybe you can tell me once you have your experience.
Yeah.
Now, what music do you like to listen to?
I like hip hop and rap. I I'm in love with Drake. He's
Nice.
my favorite. Um, but yeah, that's usually what I listen to if I'm oxing.
Nice. Yeah, no. Any guilty pleasure song that's not hip hop or is it just all rap?
Uh, I have a few. Um, I'm a big Kesha lover, so
Nice.
yeah, a few of her songs.
Yeah, I think my guilty pleasure song is "Eenie Meenie" by Justin Bieber and Sean Kingston. That's always a fun song to listen to. But yeah,
For
no,
sure.
I like Drake. I'm trying to think. I'm also a big Pop Smoke fan. I've been listening to some of his stuff, and unfortunately, he passed away. But he made some really good songs.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, what is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve is when people look at my phone when I'm on it and I don't really want them looking what I'm doing.
Hmm.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it seems a bit snoopy. I agree with you on that. Now, my biggest pet peeve is probably just bad drivers or slow drivers. It really bothers me. So, especially here in the East Coast, I feel like people don't know how to drive. Especially after COVID, it's gotten even worse. So, that's probably
Um,
the thing that makes me the most mad.
yeah, I just got pulled over for speeding actually yesterday.
Oh, that sucks. Hopefully, you got out of the ticket or not
I
so
did
lucky.
get out of the ticket.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Now, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
This is tough. I don't think I have an answer because there's too many.
Yeah. Who would you want to play your brother then?
Ooh. Um, Probably Mark Zuckerberg.
I don't think he's an actor, but that'll be pretty interesting.
Or not, or what Mark am I thinking of right now? Mark
Wahlberg.
Wahlberg, yes. That he's in the show in philosophy.
Oh,
And
that's
some of the
cool.
things he does just reminds me of my brother.
I could see that happening actually. Yeah, and he's also from Boston too, so he seems like a great guy. So I would choose.
Yeah.
That seems like a good answer. I think for me, I'd probably choose like Andrew Garfield. We don't look alike, but I think he's a great actor, so he would at least get my mannerisms down, which is all that matters.
Yeah.
Now, who is the funniest player on the Holy Family girls hockey team?
I have to go with number 3, Kenzie Moss.
Now, if you had to pick any teammate to cook a meal for you, which teammate would you pick?
Oof. That's a tough one. Probably Shay Messner. She's a good breakfast cook. I don't know about anything else.
Breakfast is a good meal. I feel like I could have that for lunch and dinner as well, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Now, you obviously have the best style on the team. That's just an undeniable fact. But besides yourself, who has the best style at Holy Family?
I have to go with Riley Knapp. She is actually the fashion and design leader at her school. So,
Oh, nice. I
yeah.
do want to ask you about your style because doing research on yourself, I found out that you were doing some modeling for a company called Royalty. What's that all about?
Yeah. So, Royalty is actually also where I work out.
That's cool.
Um, so yeah, it's a sports brand out of Minnesota. Um, it's actually pretty new and up and coming. Um, but yeah, I know the owner really, really well. Um, so yeah, I'll do some more modeling there for sure.
Any more modeling for this summer, or is it all done until next year?
Nope. Yep. This summer I'm gonna do some more.
That's awesome. I saw that
Yeah.
some other people on the podcast I've had on have done it too. I saw that Lindsay Featherstone and Nina Steigoff did some stuff too, which I found pretty interesting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I work out with them in the summers.
That's cool. That's cool. And obviously Maddie Rooney is involved as well. So that probably helped. That's going to definitely help the brand grow having an Olympian on that.
Yeah, that's actually the owner's girlfriend.
Oh, that's really cool. Actually, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So yeah, no, that's so good luck with that. That sounds fun. And hopefully the company grows into something that anyone not in Minnesota can find out about.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully.
Now, last question is if there was a TV show that you could guest star in, which TV show would you pick?
Whoa, that's a big one. Probably classic Friends. I
Hmm.
feel like that would be a really fun set to be on.
I would probably choose Seinfeld, like another kind of older TV show, but that'll be
Yeah.
kind of interesting just to be part of like whatever like shtick they have. But if I had to choose like a more like TV show that's around, I guess, more in the 2010s, I would choose Parks and Rec. I think that's a funny show and that'll be fun to be a part of.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Now back to some hockey questions. Now, my first one is, what should be done to help grow women's hockey, in your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion, I just think giving back to the youth programs is so important because I know when I was young, like I remember all the older girls like and looking up to them and like thinking like they're the coolest people in the world. And it just gives so much to look forward to as like a young girl or even boy, just as role models to look up to. And then keeping women's hockey recognized in the media and on TV, I think is huge, especially because everyone's on social media these days. But yeah, those two things are huge, I think.
Now, what advice would you give a younger player who's trying to pursue a career in Division I college hockey?
Yeah, I would just say be a kid first. Don't put too much pressure on yourself as a youth and keep it fun or else you'll get burnt out fast and you won't enjoy it anymore. And then having a life outside of hockey, whether that's playing different sports or traveling or going to the cabin in the summers or whatever it is. And then just having goals that you wish to meet every year and being able to check them off or being close to meeting them. And I would say the biggest thing is just try to focus on the things you can control. So I remember my parents always preaching to me and my brother just to focus on your attitude and effort. and then let the rest go. And that's obviously gotten us pretty far. But
Yeah, no, that's just good advice for life now, just because with the pandemic and everything going on, like there's so much things that you can't control. So just controlling what you can control is just good life advice in general as well.
yeah, for sure.
Now, do you think body checking should be allowed in women's hockey?
Yes.
Why?
I think it'd make the game a lot more interesting and fun to watch.
I think it would also make refereeing the game easier because I feel like as a player, you shouldn't worry about what the reffing style is going to be like because I feel like some refs are more strict about it. Some refs are more, I guess, not as strict about it. And I feel like as a player, you shouldn't go into a game worrying about who's calling the game and having to change the way you play the game based on how the calls will go. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, I agree.
What's the biggest check you've ever thrown in a game?
It's got to
Accidentally,
be
obviously.
it's got to be boys hockey. I targeted the biggest player who is probably like 6'2" now. Um, and I hit him, and I actually hit him hard, and he fell. And
You
I
must have
remember,
felt good about that.
yeah, I remember the ref coming up, and he was like, "That's one of the best checks I've ever seen." And I was like, "Oh,
Have you ever received a check before? Or are you good at avoiding them?
I've definitely received checks before." Um, Usually I know when they're coming, but sometimes I'm definitely caught off guard.
Yeah. Well, before we let you go, do you have any shout outs you want to give to your teammates, family members, friends, anyone that we forgot to mention during this podcast? Feel free to shout them out now.
I don't think I have anyone.
Awesome. Well, shout out to you, Madison, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. It means a lot to myself. I wish you all the best for the rest of your summer and good luck this in the U18 World Championships. Obviously, I'll be rooting for you and the rest of your teammates for Team USA. And take care and stay safe. And hopefully, if Minnesota ever comes out to the East Coast, I'd love to see you play in person.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Now, one